Hi, my name is Aisha Hagos, and I'm here to tell you about Nathaniel Hawthorn, who lived from July 4th, 1804 till May 19th, 1864. Have you ever felt like you just needed to distance yourself from everything and everyone around you? Well, from 1825 to 1837, Nathaniel Hawthorn did this exactly and came out of isolation to give America some of their best novels. Nathaniel Hawthorn was born on July 4th, 1804, in Salem, Massachusetts, at his family home, which is now a museum. In 1825, Hawthorn changed the spelling of his last name to Hawthorn without an W. He changed it after graduating from college so that the spelling would match the pronunciation more. Hawthorne attended Bowdoin College in Brunswick, Maine from 1821 to 1824, along with fellow poet Henry Wadsworth Longfellow and future American President Franklin Pierce. In 1820, Hawthorne writes and publishes The Spectator, which is a news magazine that he distributes only to friends and family. It runs for 1 month. While in college, Hawthorne starts to write a book. In 1828, he publishes his first novel, Fanshawe, anonymously. The public ignores this book, and he is greatly disappointed. In 1842, Hawthorne marries a woman by the name of Sophia Peabody from his hometown. In 1844, Sophia gives birth to the couple's first child, a daughter named Una. In 1846, the couple's second child, a son, is born. In 1851, the Hawthorns' third and final child, daughter Rose, is born. In 1838, Hawthorne went to work in the Boston Custom House and then spent part of 1841 in the famous Brook Farm community. In 1846, Hawthorne lands the position of surveyor, one who maps out new lands, in the Salem Custom House, but he was released of this position in 1848 because of his political ties with President Franklin Pierce. In 1852, Franklin Pierce was elected President of the United States of America, and Hawthorne, who wrote his campaign biography, was appointed to the important overseas post of American Consul, which is his advisor in Liverpool, England. Hawthorne loses this position as U.S. Consul after Franklin Pierce loses the Democratic nomination for re-election in 1857. In 1849, Hawthorne's mother, Elizabeth Hawthorne, dies. Hawthorne then falls into a deep depression but continues to write his book, The Scarlet Letter. Over the years, Hawthorne wrote many books. In 1837, the publication of Twice Told Tales somewhat lifted the spell of darkness. After Twice Told Tales, he added two later collections, Moses from an Old Manse in 1846 and The Snow Image in 1851, along with The Grandfather's Chair in 1841, which was a children's history of New England. Nathaniel Hawthorne's writing is representative of the 19th century. He dealt with tensions involving light versus dark, warm versus cold, faith versus doubt, heart versus mind, internal versus external worlds. Hawthorne was a transcendentalist during the 19th century American movement in reaction to transcendentalism. Most of his works were during the dark romantic period. During this time, there wasn't a way to print photos into books easily, so Nathaniel used very descriptive words in his writing and created a visual image for his readers. Nathaniel's writing focused on his beliefs as a Puritan about self and sin, what humans' wholeness and happiness require, the interrelationship of the mind, heart, spirit, will, and imagination, and accommodation not through bodily needs. Belief in the existence of devil was also present in his writing. He also believed in determinism. This was brought on by his family's background in Salem in his early childhood. His literary style used self-mockery and various forms of irony. He had recurrent patterns of character, theme, image, ambiguity, and paradox in his writing. His writing also represented the 19th century in the mainstream, and due to his use of nature as a source of inspiration, he also had many exotic and Gothic symbols, and he displayed a love of allegory. The young woman was tall, with a figure of perfect elegance on a large scale. She had dark and abundant hair, so glossy that it threw off the sunshine with a gleam, and a face which, besides the beautiful from regularity of feature and richness of complexion, had the impressiveness belonging to a marked brow and deep black eyes. She was ladylike, too, after the manner of the feminine gentility of those days, characterized by a certain state and dignity, rather than by the delicate evanescent and indescribable grace, which is now recognized as its indication, and never had Hester Prynne appeared more ladylike in the antique interpretation of the term than she had issued from the prison. Those who had before known her had expected to behold her dimmed and obscured by a disastrous cloud, were astonished and not even startled to perceive how her beauty shone out and made a halo of the misfortune and ignominy of which she was enveloped. It may be true that to a sensitive observer there was something exquisitely painful in it. Her attire, which indeed had wrought for the occasion in prison, had molded much after her own fancy, seemed to express the attitude of her spirit and desperate recklessness of her mood, by its wild and picturesque peculiarity. But the point which drew all eyes and it were transfigured the wearer, so that both men and women who had been familiarly acquainted with Hester Prynne were now impressed, as if they beheld her for the first time, was that scarlet letter, so fantastically embroidered and illuminated upon her bosom, it had the effect of a spell, taking her out of the ordinary relations with humanity, and enclosing her in a sphere by herself. Hester Prynne has committed adultery and has borne an illegitimate child. This shows that an A has been stitched on her dress, which stands for adulterer. This is the first time she's brought to the town square since her imprisonment. Hawthorne does a good job of using visual images in the reader's head, since there weren't very many advancements in printing that allowed pictures in books.